This week on the Canadian Tech Podcast, Bell launches a new prepaid wireless provider brand. Kitchener goes all in on IoT. You can now get your cell phone unlocked for free, and we chat with the folks at Touch Bistro. That's all next and more on the Canadian Tech Podcast. The Canadian Tech Podcast is sponsored by Olio Digital Labs. Olio are the planners, designers, and developers of the apps used by some of Canada's biggest brands. Find out what Olio can do for you at oliodigitallabs.com. And we're also sponsored by CodeShip, continuous integration and delivery software that lets you ship your apps with confidence. Both CodeShip Basic and CodeShip Pro come with a free plan that grants 100 builds per month, unlimited projects, and unlimited users. Visit codeship.com today to find out which CodeShip product is right for you.
Welcome to the Canadian Tech Podcast, episode 142 for Sunday, December the 3rd, 2017, sponsored by Olio Digital Labs and CodeShip. My name is Stuart Clark.
And my name is Derek Silva.
Well, Derek, can you believe it? We are already into December. Can someone please tell me what happened to the rest of 2017?
Man, I cut my grass today. It does not feel like December. So, yeah, it is. I know, because my birthday is in 16 days. But it certainly does not feel like September or December. Exactly. It feels so unlike December. I'm calling it September. And so much so that I don't think I ever had a single birthday where there wasn't, a meter worth of snow on the ground. And yet it's December 3rd and I'm cutting my grass.
I know. Well, I also know a good friend of ours, Mike Marsman. He went out golfing today.
I saw that. Yeah, not what I would
Twitter.
do with a nice day in December, personally. But
well, I don't play golf. You know why they call it golf, don't you? Because all the other four-letter words were taken. So yeah, exactly. All right. So part of the thing is, I wouldn't be surprised if some restaurants, if they could, would open up their patios. And speaking of restaurants, that nicely segues. We have some guests here tonight from a restaurant point of sale app called touchbistro.com. And Derek, why don't you go ahead and introduce them?
Sure. So we have Saiba. I didn't ask about your last name. Segu, is that right?
You got it.
Great. She's a market development representative at Touch Bistro, and we also have an easier name, Alexandra Tucky. She's a software specialist consultant at Touch Bistro. Welcome. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having us.
Okay, yeah, no, we really appreciate it. We always love hearing about Canadian companies and things like that. So as I said, you can reach their site at touchbistro.com. And I'm sure, unless you've been under a rock lately, you notice a lot of times now the old style cash registers and that in the restaurants have been replaced by touchpads, and some people use tablets now and things like that. And running a restaurant is very, it's like one of those things like everything else. You specialize in running the restaurant, but then there's that darn technology and all that behind it. So why don't one of you briefly describe about Touch Bistro, what's it about, and a brief history of the company?
Awesome. So Touch Bistro is an iPad point of sale that has been up and running for the last 7 years. So essentially, I guess the best analogy I can really give is that it's like an insole for your shoe. So the shoe being the restaurant, the insole being the point of sale. It just makes walking a lot easier in a long-term setting. So, giving more transparency for the business owners, and really giving them the tools in their arsenal to make better business decisions. So it benefits everyone in the long run.
Very cool. And you mentioned, people, it's an iPad point of sale thing. So I also looked at your awesome website, and you've got quite the large clientele base all over the place, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
And then all sorts of other little products, everything we were mentioning before we went on air, that like one of the things is things like to help business owners, basically things like reports and stuff like that.
Exactly.
Yeah. Is there any particular highlights that is kind of really when you're selling your system to these restaurateurs, and not all of them are, let's say, technology enabled. Some are technology challenged, as in any industry. Is there anything that really makes them say wow when they see it?
This is right up Alex's alley.
Alex?
I think the biggest wow factor is how we can increase their efficiency and help them also increase revenue. So actually bringing the iPads to the table and showing them how easy it could be to quickly input the orders, sending them to the kitchen without even having to leave the floor at all. Just really increasing the efficiency, and then also using the technology and leveraging it at the table to upsell.
Well, that's a good idea. So, so I guess an example would be if someone's ordering, let's say, a beef or a lamb dish, if there's some particular wine that really goes well with it, that sort of idea. Very cool. Okay. So again, either of you can answer this. We have some kind of general questions we'd like to ask people. What keeps you coming into work? Like, what gets you excited and gets you actually in there?
For sure. So, for me personally, this is my first job after completing my undergrad. So I was fortunate enough to find a company that is in its growth phase and where I have the ability to be as tenacious as I want to be. So trying different things and really testing it out in full, and being able to help other teams with my successes and sort of work together collaboratively as a whole team. Also, because of the product and how it's emerging so much, it's amazing to be surrounded by a team that's so dedicated to their job and is always so willing to help out. So it's really comes down to, the growth of the company as a whole. That is amazing to see, as well as the people. So that is, that's what keeps me thinking about it all the time.
Very cool. Alex, do you have some similar thoughts?
My thoughts are the exact same. I just love how the culture, right? We're all encouraged to bring innovative ideas to the table, and we're given the tools to be able to execute those ideas. And it's just great, right? The company's growing so quickly, and it's great to be a part of that growth.
Awesome. Derek, do you have a question?
I do. So I have a tiny bit of experience with some restaurant POS systems. The one I see a lot is, well, actually, I won't give them any press. So it starts with an M. It ends with a D. If you pay any attention to the restaurants you go to, you've probably seen the logo I'm talking about. I'm just wondering, like, how does Touch Bistro compare to some of the more traditional or older systems out there? What really sets Touch Bistro apart in your minds?
It really comes down to the user interface. So because the software has been designed, with the iOS platform, like the developer team at Touch Bistro works with Apple's team directly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so the Apple gestures are incorporated into the software. So ease of use is one of the biggest differentiating factors. So if I want to train a staff member, and obviously restaurant owners deal with high staff turnover all the time, I don't have to spend hours and hours with training them. If they have a smartphone, the likelihood that they're going to pick up the software within, let's say, half an hour or under an hour, a fraction of the time that it normally would with a traditional legacy system, is highly likely. Cool.
Do you have anything to add, Alexandra?
I would definitely agree with that. Ease of use. A lot of my clients will, they're in awe when they look at our reporting. You can select specifically what you want to see in your reports, and they're really easy to digest, especially our cloud reporting. And a lot of clients who are using more of like a legacy traditional system are just baffled. They're like, oh my God, usually at the end of the day with my system, I get this huge report with lots of numbers. It's difficult to decipher. Just difficult to read and understand. So ease of use, definitely.
Cool. one thing, I don't know who was behind it at the time, but certainly over the last few years, I've seen a few systems where you walk into a sushi restaurant. It's probably my best example, because the menu in any sushi restaurant can get really daunting really quickly, because they can make so many different things out of 10 different ingredients, right? And so the first few iPad ordering apps I used actually seemed to detract from the experience, because I spent way more time trying to figure out what I wanted and trying to fumble my way through the ordering process, and when I consider myself a fairly tech savvy person, that was really frustrating. How does Touch Bistro avoid that sort of thing happening? Is it very much a server driven thing, so that the servers explaining things, or is the iPad app, or is the iPad actually left behind for a little bit so people can look at the menu, and therefore you're making sure the menu is actually designed in such a way that it's super amazing and it's really intuitive?
So with the way that wow, I can't talk. The tableside ordering works. So it's left in the server's hands. So if I'm a server at a restaurant, bring the iPad to the table. Even just the simplest of things, like not so that I'm holding it up to my face the entire time that I'm interacting with the guest there. I can have it on a simple sleeve stand or case, so that I just pull it up like a watch and input the order right away, so it gets sent out to the kitchen. So it doesn't detract from that dining experience for the guest.
Right.
So it's not. I mean, it really is up to the restaurant owner to decide how they want that experience to be. I mean, they don't necessarily have to have tableside ordering per se, but they can have the iPad stationed near the actual seating area. But I mean, if you're taking it tableside, you can use it as a picture book to showcase the actual menu items, so that you can get a visual of what exactly you're going to get.
Cool.
Interesting. Because the other thing I was noticing is, again, part of the other products, and I know it's something here in London and people are talking about, but you even have a solution for food trucks.
We do.
Yeah. Do you find that segment of the market is growing? Okay.
Yeah, for sure. Alex, do you want to expand on that?
Yeah, definitely in Toronto. And the beauty of Touch Bistro and us being Apple-based is that the tablets are small and they're easy, simple, sleek. So a lot of food trucks do like our solution.
Right. Yeah, I was seeing that. Yeah, and that's part of the thing now, less of the pen and paper and things like that. Okay, Derek, do you have any other questions?
I don't think so. I don't know if either of you are involved in the content marketing side, but I just noticed in the footer that part of your content marketing strategy seems to be actually giving people a ton of information on how to actually start a restaurant. And so I was wondering if you know how successful that's been in terms of even just attracting existing restaurants, because you're showcasing some expertise, or if if that's actually brought some folks in who are like, hey, I want to start a restaurant. Thanks so much for the info. And, obviously as a result, I'm going to sign up with Touch Bistro as well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the Restaurant Success Library has, like in my role in particular, with qualifying leads. So those inquiring about Touch Bistro or, me doing my own self-prospecting, that is something that really adds a lot of validation and credibility to what I am saying. So it gives them a good visual as to here's X, Y, and Z restaurant that's currently using Touch Bistro, and this is how they're able to make their lives a lot easier with the software.
Right.
Or it's not directly like by Touch Bistro. It's more of a consultative approach that here are options available. Like Touch Bistro might not be the right one, but here's something to think about. Food for thought, if you will. No pun intended.
That was good. I like that. I think that should be an intendable pun. That was awesome. That was awesome. Yeah, no, it's really good. But yeah, no, it's nice. Like I said, it's nice to see a made in Canada solution here. And as we say, it's at touchbistro.com. And we really appreciate you joining us tonight. And as I said, we're going to be talking about some other stories here, and we'd love to hear some of your insight. Just before we go, is there anything else you want to just close on to talk either of you about Touch Bistro?
Yeah, I wanted to touch on if anyone's interested in our product, we do have a promotional code where you can get a discount on our services. So it's CANTECH 20.
Okay.
Yeah, there's already a link in the show notes.
If anyone wants to use that.
Awesome. And as Derek said, we have put a link in the show notes, and we'll make sure we also, when we publish the episode in our various social media channels, we'll make mention of that. So
why pay $69 a month when you could be paying maybe $64 or less? Click on the link, use that, save yourself some cash, put that back in the restaurant. Buy a new light fixture. I don't know.
or if you're setting up, in the local area to Derek and I, invite us in for a meal.
Sure. Yeah. We'll talk.
We like to eat. Exactly.
We'll talk about the tech in your restaurant on the podcast. There you go.
There you go. Exactly. Yeah. That might be a nice new gig, Derek. Give us a meal, a couple of beers.
Here comes the London Restaurant Podcast. No.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect. Okay, so let's get right into our quick hits here. Derek, why don't you start off? I don't think we're going to quite need the popcorn on this first story.
I'm going to try and avoid it.
Okay.
So Bell Mobility Wireless, whatever you want to call it, obviously a subsidiary of BCE, they are getting back into the prepaid wireless carrier business. They used to have a brand called Solo Mobile. I don't know if they actually started or bought that brand, but regardless, I remember that being a thing. They own Virgin Mobile as well, and they are getting back into that ring with Lucky Mobile, or Mobile if you prefer. So Lucky Mobile's plans don't require a credit check or a long-term contract. That's cool. You can sign up for a month at a time, paid for in advance, obviously. There will be service passes, which are $3 or $5 add-ons in replacement of pay-per-use rates in some cases. And they feel like they can really go after immigrants, basically. People who are new to Canada, need a cell phone, don't have a credit score. I'll talk about that a little bit later in my things you've been up to lately section. Or can't commit to a contract because who knows if I'm going to get a work visa or what have you. So that aspect's pretty cool. You're only going to have 3G equivalent speed, so that's 3 megabits per second, even though you're going to be using the 4G network. So the cost, or that comes at a price, not having a contract and all that. Plans will start at $20 a month and go up to $50 depending on your usage.
Exactly. Okay.
Oh, and Minister of ISED Navdeep Bains also expressed support for Lucky Mobile in a tweet. I'll just leave that at that.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting.
Google has released the list of most popular apps, games, and books on Google Play for 2017. The top apps in Canada include Photo Editor, Face App, QuickBooks Self-Employed. Wow, we're business-like. What the Forecast, I'm guessing that's a weather app, and Lego Life. Top games in Canada for 2017, Super Mario Run, Snake vs. Block, Bubble Witch 3 Saga, Pokemon Duel, and Balls with a Z.
I don't know. Yeah. I'm too old for those, so.
Top books for the year: The Subtle Art of Not Giving a F Word by Mark Manson, The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. She's a Canadian author. That's cool. It by Stephen King, The Dark Tower by Stephen King, and Behind Closed Doors by B.A. Paris. Have not heard of the last one.
We'll probably see one from Apple soon, a similar list.
Yes. Oh yeah, that'll be coming up real soon if it hasn't already. Speaking of Apple, they've opened registration for free Hour of Code sessions that are going to be run at all Canadian Apple stores from December 4th, that's tomorrow, until the 10th. It's a week-long event. It coincides with the Computer Science Education Week and offers kids under 12 with basic coding lessons in the Swift Play... Oh, sorry. Well, those kids above 12 years old will use the Swift Playgrounds iPad app to learn, what else? Swift.
There you go.
There's also going to be a Teacher Tuesday session that will help educators learn how to teach to code and obviously learn to code themselves. There's a link in the story to actually go sign up if you want to.
Cool.
The city of Kitchener, Ontario, formerly known as Berlin. I don't know why I threw that in, just kind of felt like it.
He does that once in a while.
Yeah, just cause. Hey, how many people don't know that Kitchener used to be called Berlin until the end of World War One, I believe? And then they're like,
World War One.
This
Yeah.
is a bad idea.
Let's ask our guest. Did either of you know about that?
Yes, I did.
See,
One did, one
guest-
didn't. Okay, so I taught somebody something today. Yes.
I only know that because I went to school in Waterloo.
Oh, well, there you go.
there you go. All right. Well,
The city you just-
we won't hold that against you.
Waterloo, where you just kind of end up in it if you keep driving north.
Yes.
So the Digital Kitchener Innovation Lab is going to leverage Kitchener's existing IoT network, and they are opening up a municipal innovation lab at Communitech, of course, specifically focused on Internet of Things, IoT. The intention behind this is to take complex service challenges out of City Hall, thank goodness for that, into a more disruptive environment like Communitech. Mayor Barry Verbanovich said that the lab is going to be an example of our vision in action. Earlier this year, Council approved a vision for a digital Kitchener, and the lab is one example of how they're going to pursue new technologies and partnerships to connect citizens in ways never imagined before. And
So Derek, I gotta ask you a question because you know, for those who don't know, Derek is a municipal councillor for Middlesex Centre, if I recall.
Correct.
So how come Middlesex Centre isn't leading the way with something like this?
So we don't have any sensors, and especially for things like street lights. Well, okay, we have sensors. We have water valves, which which I'm pretty sure are actually digital.
And you have a traffic light.
None of the traffic lights belong to us. They all belong to the county.
Okay, just checking.
They're only on county roads. The water mains, we're getting more digital. Our current municipal engineer is a year older than me. We went to high school together. Cool. He's a pretty forward-looking guy, and he's definitely dragging the government into the 21st century in a lot of ways.
You know what? That's good because we need the same thing here in London, and I was winding you up. So
no, that's fine. We can't afford to. We don't, and B, we don't have a lot of this infrastructure. You know, we have water mains, we have traffic, we have street lights, we have waste containers, of course, like some of the examples laid out here in the article. But a lot of the water mains are really old, so maybe Brian wants to put sensors on them as they're redone. I don't know.
But you know what? This is all an excellent idea, and
absolutely,
cities and municipalities should be paying attention. Maybe even Toronto.
Mm-hmm. I was just thinking about that as well. I mean, it's curious to see, like, you know, if city or more metropolis areas like Toronto would observe a strategy like this and maybe look to input it in the near future, you know, given which way it swings in the KW region.
Well, I think that's part of where Sidewalk Labs comes in, and redeveloping or developing that whole harborfront area to actually get an entire section of the city all wired up, all sensored up, and figure out, okay, what does work, what doesn't work. And I'm pretty sure this is really Sidewalk Labs' first actual project anywhere. It's great that Toronto got it, and will give everybody a ton of information about which sensors work in -20 weather and which ones don't, and which ones can get covered with snow and salt and dirt, and which ones can't, or how you beef those up if they do get covered in salt and dirt. So I think that's a really good test case, especially on the water there.
Well, it's better than putting $200,000 towards a rubber duck.
Hey, that brought like $1 million in tourism dollars to Toronto. So actually, that's a 5x return.
We actually supported the rubber duck.
We do support the rubber duck. In hindsight, I had to get behind it.
Yeah, hindsight's a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
Okay, and speaking of hindsight, Google, I think, wishes it had more. It had more foresight instead of hindsight.
You are just all over the segues tonight. Google's Pixel 2 XL has not had a good launch. Blue screen issues, burn-in issues, etc., and so on. Similar to the iPhone X, they've also been having some screen-related issues. There's also been some QC problems and a speaker buzz. Some that didn't have Android installed on them. Wow. And now an issue that's causing the Pixel 2 to randomly reboot. Thanks, Bob and Enzo. So apparently Google has a plan to fix that last one, the reboot issue, in the coming weeks. That'll be a software patch. It'll come with the Pixel 2's, Android's monthly security update, since that's seems to be the way they're fixing a lot of issues. When you control the whole ecosystem, you can do that.
Yeah, but that always doesn't work well, as we'll talk about in a little while.
Yeah, true. So this affects Pixel 2 and Pixel 2 XL, according to a bunch of forum threads. Apparently, our Google has been trying to fix a lot of these issues as quickly as possible. Some, I think, are more hardware related. Not a ton you can do about that except replace the device, but they are working on it. So if you've got this random reboot issue on the Pixel 2, Google's on it. I bet you that fix will be coming in the next week, considering the time frame.
All right.
And that does it for my quick hits.
All right. And then speaking of another hit, let's talk about a word from our good friends at Olio Digital Labs.
Everywhere we go, they're within an arm's reach. They make us more productive, help us stay connected, and even entertain us. And every day they're helping organizations across Canada build a better tomorrow. At Olio Digital Labs, we are the planners, the designers, the builders of the custom web and mobile applications that are enabling small and medium-sized organizations across southwestern Ontario, empowering some of Canada's largest brands. Large or small, organizations across Canada count on our focused development process to produce affordable, scalable mobile applications that can help fuel their futures. So whether developing a rock-solid e-commerce platform for an ambitious small market, developing a complex system integration for a national enterprise, or helping an organization of any size navigate application design and user experience, accessibility, and security compliance, we are your complete web and mobile production team. We are the experts to plan, design, build, and maintain your project. Find out what Olio Digital Labs can do for you by giving us a call or visiting us on the web at oliodigitallabs.com. Olio Digital Labs, code that powers every day.
And we'd like to thank Olio Digital Labs for their continued support of the Canadian Tech Podcast.
All right, let's get into our stories. Our first one tonight is, and we've covered this story before, the CRTC, quite a few months ago, basically did a bunch of changes to the wireless code. And one of the main ones which got a lot of people's attention was they were banning the unlocking fee, which is currently $50 at Rogers, Bell, and TELUS. And I know some other companies, Freedom Mobile, labeled it toxic revenue. So on June 15th, they revised that, and they said by December 1st, there was going to be no more carrier-locked phones. And they also said customers who unlock devices, they're going to be entitled to free unlocking upon request on that date. And all newly purchased devices from that date on have to be sold unlocked. Now, we did cover about a little bit of how about some of these companies were trying to delay some segments of this. Now, I've noticed, because again, I've got a couple of locked Rogers phones I'd like to get unlocked. And I've noticed Rogers is going to make that available. And I believe the other companies are as well. So, the only things is devices have to be, at least in Rogers cases, directly purchased from Rogers. So if I have a TELUS phone, I can't go to Rogers saying, can you please unlock this? Makes sense.
Sure.
Basically they've got a fairly good page here where it talks about a lot of the times they can do that for you without you having to go into a store. I'm actually, when I get some time in the next month or so, I'd like to try this because I've got an older iPhone 5 I'd like to give to my mom to replace her very old phone. But currently she's on the TELUS network and is fairly happy with that. So we need to get it unlocked. Derek, what do you think?
I think I'm heading to Bell soon to unlock my phone. Just cause. Not that I mean, if I leave now, I have to pay the early termination fee because I'm on a 2-year contract. So I'm not excited about that part. So I'm not going to go out and switch wireless plans this week. Although, hey, maybe there's a really good deal on that would make it worth it. But anyway, I'll probably wait till this time next year. Then I'll only have like a couple months left on my contract. So this time next year, it might actually make sense to take my Google Pixel and leave.
And go.
No, I think this is great. Jean-Pierre Blais, the former chairman of the CRTC, who we grew to love and adore over the last couple of years, he said, his only regret was that he should have done it sooner. I agree. Right. But certainly better late than never. I got another 50, 60 years left on my life, so I get to enjoy this for a while. And I'm great. I'm grateful that the CRTC did make this decision and, basically let me do what I want with the device I've either paid outright for or, I'm still paying for because it's a subsidized thing, but Bell's going to get their money. Like it's my device.
No matter what they will.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. And I'm going to turn to our guests. Any comments on this one? Are you run out and unlock your devices tomorrow?
Same boat as you guys. I mean, about time. It's nice to actually be able to, use your phone when you are in a different country or want to use an old phone. About time. That's Saiba, right? Yes.
Do you do a lot of traveling? So are you constantly swapping out SIMs and that sort of thing overseas?
Not myself as much, but I do have family members that do it quite a bit, and it's just this constant inconvenience that comes up, where, you can't use your phone in another country because you have to get it unlocked, and it's just this entire headache.
Yeah, actually, sorry, real quick, this would have been great a year ago or a year and a bit ago when I went to Portugal. Instead of buying
That's right, you had to buy one,
a €20, or actually maybe 15, I don't know, it was cheap, like a €20 Alcatel tiny phone. I just could have brought my phone. Well, I had my phone on me anyway, but I could have actually bought a SIM on Vodafone and just use that in case of emergency. I didn't make a ton of calls or text messages, but man, going back to T9 texting was not easy. Alexandra, what about you?
Yeah, I think that's awesome. I just moved in with my boyfriend, and I'm on a Rogers plan, and I'm paying a lot for it, and my contract is ending soon, so this could come in handy. I'm very excited.
Is your boyfriend also on Rogers, or is he on a different carrier?
No, he's on Bell.
He's on Bell, so you probably look to merge at this point then and go to a shared plan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. There you go. So this will save you some money, and you don't have to worry about spending an extra $50 or extra $100 if you both decide to leave and go to TELUS or something like that. And you just save $50 to $100 in this CRTC decision. Thank you, CRTC. You're literally saving people money.
Yay! Okay, let's move on. Our good friends at Apple now. I do the podcast on a PC, but I do love my 6-year-old MacBook. Both our guests tonight are using MacBooks. Derek, you're using yours, right?
I sure am.
Right. I have my iPhone. A lot of people have it. Well, Apple didn't really have a good week from a QA perspective, did they, Derek?
No. No, they didn't. So, what? A security researcher at Twitter, I think.
I believe so, yeah. Or
he
tweeted it out.
So he found an issue where if you don't have a password set on the root account, trying to get into, or trying to, allow software to do something weird, which Apple will often prompt you on in Mac OS to enter your password again, you could put in username root, no password, and just keep trying 5 or 6 times to get through, and it would inevitably let you in. And so you're literally logged in as the root account, which is normally not possible on Mac OS to my knowledge, and potentially you've allowed highly malicious software to run amok in your device. So they fixed that less than 24 hours later. And apparently so this was only on macOS High Sierra, which is the latest version. And this was like we're just going to patch it, you don't need to reboot or anything thing that happened, which I thought was a little weird. But, and then that added so they fixed that, and then the next normal patch, I think, reintroduced the issue.
Exactly. Because they didn't tell people to reboot, apparently. And there was also some issues for it also broke file sharing for some users. I'm really wondering if we're going to see a job posting at Apple for VP of QA.
Which you think they would have, considering they have GarageBand, iTunes, macOS, iOS, all the internal first-party apps in both operating systems, Final Cut, they build a lot of software.
I think they have it down working now. I know. It's just...
Well, for me, it's just take your time. This, we don't need to get a new, stupidly named version of macOS every year. It's Maverick, Sierra, High Sierra. My marketing team assures me this is fully baked. Ha, ha, ha. Great. Good for you, Craig Federighi. But, just hold back a little bit if you have to. Lord knows you guys have held back in tons of other areas. What's another week or two of QA testing really going to hurt?
Exactly. But we've also noticed similar issues with iOS 11 for their mobile platform.
Yeah. So what's going on here? Because I haven't installed the latest version.
Well, neither have I. But again, still a lot of people are reporting there's some overheating issues, some touchscreen problems, update issues in general,
crashing at 12:15 a.m.
Crashing at 12:15 a.m. That's a totally weird one. Alexander, you're a software specialist. Have you encountered any of this yet, or any of your colleagues?
I have not actually.
Good for you.
Surprisingly, yeah, I've been really lucky.
Okay.
Those issues, to be honest.
But again, in the software side, you think they'd do some more testing, wouldn't you?
I think so.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I know. Well, I haven't put myself or my wife's phone over yet, just because of these issues. But yeah, you really wonder what's going on there in that division. If there's, because usually they put out some quality stuff, but there's going to be some high level meetings, and some people are going, listen, we need to do it right.
So The Verge has a bullet list of this week in Apple. macOS High Sierra critical flaw with the root admin access. Cool.
Yep.
A High Sierra update released, but it breaks file sharing. iOS 11 crashing on some iPhones due to a date bug, time bug, etc. macOS High Sierra fix not installing correctly on some systems. Oh, that's great. And then iOS 11.2 was released early to fix the iPhone crash bug.
It's just, they're doing stuff that we used to laugh at Microsoft 10 or 12 years ago for doing. And it's just, the more complex these things are. And again, I suppose that, again, how do in terms of, because again, you guys are at a company that's, your hardware runs, your application runs on this hardware. How do you handle in terms of, if you've got a client or something saying, oh, I'm hearing this, should I be updating all my iPads if it's gonna do that? That's actually a good question. How do you handle, again, the customers who are not as tech savvy, but they're hearing this bad press from Apple?
Mm-hmm. So when we onboard customers, one of the things that we are, the team is very diligent on doing is providing all customers with professional training services. So,
right.
For the person who's like the least tech savvy to the most tech savvy, there's one-on-one training time for them.
Awesome.
So that they're able to understand how the software works.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of, iOS updates, the software runs in conjunction with the iOS updates as well. And, it's constantly updated because it is a SaaS model.
Okay.
And, for those customers that do have a bit of difficulty, we have a 24/7 tech line for them as well, where we have, all the staff is trained and has restaurant experience. So that they're able to, it's not like we're outsourcing it to anyone. It's all done in-house. So everyone has experience with Touch Bistro, A, and B, they have experience in the restaurant industry as well.
And I can see, and that is definitely important, because there's nothing like, especially with these other different industries, you need to be in it. We all as techies, we may say we know this stuff, but unless you're in it, you really need that. So, and I've seen you mention that on the website a few times, and I can see there'd be quite a bit of confidence there. So yeah, let's hope Apple hopefully has a better week next week, because I say after this week, I'm sure there was some drinking going on by Friday night. Hey,
yeah, guaranteed.
Speaking of a company that probably had a lot of stressed out people drinking, Equifax, they had that massive breach. And you remember a couple of months ago, maybe a month or two ago, they said, there was only 8,000 Canadians affected by this data breach. And I basically said right there on the podcast, I said BS. I'm sure it's going to be higher. And yep, I was right. They obviously were listening to me for once. They decided, to come out, and apparently now 19,000. So that's basically just over double.
Yeah.
And apparently they're saying the reason why was because they were saying, well, the 8,000 was their personal information, but it wasn't able to talk about how many credit cards were affected.
Wow.
According to the AP statement, 11,760 Canadian credit cards have been compromised. So that information contains name, addresses, credit or debit card numbers, expiry dates, and most alarmingly, social insurance numbers. That's not good. That's not good at all. So they're saying right now 145.5 million U.S. customers are affected, and 400,000 customers in the UK. There's obviously 2 investigations already, Canada and the U.S. I believe England's doing one as well. And there's already a couple of class action lawsuits in Canada already. I haven't seen any email about mine being affected, so hopefully I'm lucky, and hopefully everyone else here, because I'm sure we all know it's an absolute pain in the you-know-what if your credit card or your debit card gets compromised and you have to change everything. Derek, any comments?
Well, I wouldn't look for email. I'd look for snail mail.
Mail. Yeah.
Right? Like Equifax, unless they go to my bank and says, hey, RBC, we messed up and we need to get a hold of Derek. Do you have an email address? And in that case, yeah, go ahead, give it to them, because, it's an email address. But yeah, I would suspect it'll be snail mail, Canada Post, where you get notified of this. So in the meantime, keep an eye on your credit cards. Get a new one if you can. Just, don't do that yet, because if something happens, Visa, MasterCard, Amex, they're going to cover it.
Yeah, they're good for that.
But getting a new SIN is not easy.
No, and that's the part that's that's the part where identity theft happens.
Yeah, so this is not good at all for 19. Well, I guess what is it?
19,000.
Yeah, 19,760.
Yeah, roughly.
Folks in total. So, yeah, Saiba, Alexandra, anything to add?
That's very unfortunate.
Yes, it is. That's putting it nicely.
So says the marketing person.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. That's a good way to put it.
It's so awful. Honestly, not that, this is a bit of a side note, but I honestly, recently actually had text messages sent to me from a banking company that I'm not affiliated with, saying that there was fraudulent activity on my account.
Yeah.
Which was quite odd because they sent me a hyperlink of a link to sign in and give my banking info.
Definitely don't do that.
Looked exactly, yeah. So it looked identical to the homepage, like the landing page of said bank. So I called them like, okay, what's going on? I don't bank with you guys. What's going on? I don't have anything affiliated with you. So that's something I've come across the first time. And I had actually received multiple text messages from different numbers, which is very, very suspicious.
And they're probably all 416 or 647 area code?
Like 702 even.
Oh.
Yeah, there will be a bunch of different ones. All right, we're going to move on to our last story of the evening. Interact and NanoPay. Talked about Interact before, but they're actually partnering to offer international money transfers. I don't know about you, Derek, but every time I hear the term international money transfers, I know Western Union's a big leader in that. But I also, you also hear about, it seems like a lot of internet scams are done during using Western Union money transfers. So this sounds like it's going to be something, again, it's Interact. It's a made in Canada solution.
Yeah.
Sounds like it's going to be something that, yep, and so is NanoPay. It's going to be something that hopefully sounds like it's going to be a little bit more secure and on the up and up. What do you think? You're more into digital payments and stuff like that than I ever am.
Yeah, so let's dig in here a little bit. So Interact has their e-transfer platform, which I use every week to pay my daycare provider because it's much easier than writing checks. And I'm lucky enough to be on an RBC checking account plan that provides free Interact e-transfers. It used to be only the first 2 per month, which means I had to pay for the second 2, and now it's all free, which is awesome. And NanoPay, we've talked about before. They bought that technology from the Canadian Mint, the Mint chip tech, and they've been trying to develop that into a solution. I remember they launched something in Liberty Village earlier this year or last year. I think that was, that was already a year and a half ago. I ran into them at the DX3 conference in Etobicoke. And so Interact e-transfer going very, very well, growing 50% year over year, $63 billion now.
Wow.
In 2016. So as they're going forward, if you wanted to do things internationally, yes, you had to use Western Union, as you mentioned. But if Interact can keep they can keep all the fees and the processes within their own system, that opens the door for lots of outside banks and companies to work with Interact, which ultimately benefits the big 5 banks because they all own it. So India is a really good choice, they feel, for this first iteration on the international version, because there are a lot of Indians, Indian folks who have moved to Canada, sending money back home. India is the second most populous country in the world, so if you want to send money, all you have to do now is actually use the Interact system to transfer it to an eligible Indian bank account.
I also see, they're hoping more countries, including the U.S. and U.K., because I know my mom would love that. She still gets a bit of a British pension, and it's a little bit of a pain right now to transfer it over. So
So what's different is that the beneficiary of the funds has to give a little bit more information on the Indian side, in this case, to comply with the law over there. NanoPay's part in this is going to be introducing the service to as many financial institutions as possible across the country. And as the service becomes more widespread, NanoPay and Interact hope that they'll be able to get to more countries, like you mentioned. So I think this is really, really cool. I think this is fantastic. I've got situations where I'm on the same end of things in terms of being on the Canada side, where we're trying to send money to family in Portugal sometimes for birthday presents or usually birthday presents, Christmas presents, that sort of thing. And instead we're buying some euros at the bank and hoping it gets there, or we just wait for my parents to go, because they've been going pretty much every year lately, and be like, I'll just send it with my parents. You'll get your birthday present in a couple months.
There you go.
Which is obviously not terribly convenient because you're literally waiting for somebody to make $1,000 trip in order to send 50 euros. So this is great. I've been looking forward to something like this happening for a while. Like WeTransfer. TransferWise is really cool, and a bunch of other startups like that. But having Interac and NanoPay in the game, I think, like it says here, who wrote this? As Max Greenwood wrote, I'm already really familiar with Interac e-transfer. So that's perfect. So what I don't know at this point is what information I need to get. So if it's still just email, and it's up to my cousin Bruno or whatever to enter in a little bit more information on his bank side of things. What's it? Banque Nouvelle, New Bank, I think he's
Very
at. Cool. I'm sure he's happy to do that. What I do need, though, is the vice versa, because I bought something for his daughter, like a costume that they wanted for her birthday party. I bought it here, and I mailed it over there. They got it, but in return, he owed me like $60. And so my dad's like, I'll just give you the $60. I'll get it when I go again. I'll get it back from him. So now my cousin Bruno owes my dad $60.
Aren't you the cool family member?
I try.
Rain check.
Yeah. rain check for 6 months from now. How about that?
Hey, that's all right.
Saiba, Alex, do either of you have a use case for this?
I think just the way the world is going, it makes perfect sense. I mean, we're all so much more connected than we were like even 10 years ago. And there's so many situations where, I've seen like my family sending money to India. Like it's been a hassle sometimes just because, it's not as easy to do it through, what other platforms there were before, but having more introductions to a brand like a company like Interact, which is more trusted, it makes it a little easier to do something like that.
Excellent.
Yeah, I think it's really cool, especially with how many immigrants we have in Canada. It just makes things so much easier, like you said, to send money back home. I'm Ukrainian, and I've seen my grandmother struggle with this same type of thing, right? Like when her other relatives going back to Ukraine, or like her friends, how am I going to send it, check, or actual money? Yeah. So this definitely helps a lot. It's really cool.
Yeah. I mean, I at this point, like just recently, I was thinking to myself, man, it'd be really nice if at least one of my cousins over there would just figure out Bitcoin. or Litecoin or Ether. I don't care. Pick a cryptocurrency. You can send me the money that way, or vice versa. But in the absence of trying to teach my Portuguese family all about blockchain technology in Portuguese, because I'm not sure I'd be able to do that at this point, this is a nice intermediary intermediary if it expands to Portugal soon.
You might as well mail it in the meantime if you're trying to teach everyone, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. I got to start putting together some Portuguese instructional videos on blockchain and Bitcoin.
Little tutorials, start a YouTube channel.
Yeah, I'll write it in English, I'll translate it, and then start recording.
And I have the title, How to Keep the Parents and the Grandparents Happy. That's the most important thing. Yeah. Do not piss off your grandmothers. I'm sure all of you have experienced that at one point.
Yeah, it's not fun.
Not a good look.
Not a good look. No. 'Cause they've done it all and seen it all. Don't mess with them.
Nope.
All right. So those are all our stories that are fit to print or display or whatever we call it. Now we have our little segment called Stuff We Like, and I saw this story this week about we wanted to we talk about our throwaway technology and stuff like that. Well, NASA's Voyager probes, they've been out there since before I think all three of you were born. I was around. I remember these. I'm old. So yeah, 1977. They've been out. They were launched from Earth, and in this case, these particular backup thrusters on Voyager 1, they haven't been used since 1980. But they're hoping to again extend the life of the probe. It's still doing some science out there. So they're actually did this test. They used these backup thrusters, and apparently it worked really well. Now, again, you can imagine the QA obviously for this is a little bit more intense than Apple because you've got basically a delay time. We're talking like hours and hours. I think it's like 23 hours right now until they know it would work or not. Because that's how far away these probes are. So yeah, just again, neat science. I remember when I was a kid. I remember when these probes took pictures of Jupiter and Saturn and went onto the outer planets and all that. And it's just kind of neat to see where you've got machines that probably have like 4 to 8K of memory. Kilobytes, not megabytes or gigabytes like you kids have now. Yeah, just very, very cool. So I like this story, and they're hoping that they're going to get another 2 or 3 more years out of both probes. So
Sweet.
Very cool. Derek, what have you got this week?
I've got Bloom. So we talked about Equifax earlier, and we talked about, well, it doesn't really have to do with sending money to family, but Bloom is a blockchain-based startup. Full disclosure, I invested like $50 in Bloom, maybe not even. So I do have a stake in whether this works out or not, but I think it's really, really cool, and that's why I've invested my money in it. Basically, they're trying to replace Equifax. We talked earlier about... Where was it? Oh, we talked earlier about Bell and Lucky Mobile, and they're not going to do credit checks because they're trying to target this at new Canadians. So part of the issue worldwide is that if you do move to a new country, Saiba's ancestors experienced this, my ancestors, Alex's too, and yours, Stuart. So
yep,
we're all immigrants. Beautiful. So, or descendants of immigrants, because I was born here. All of our family members at some point in the past moved to a new country and had to rebuild their lives. Compounding the issue is that if you were living in a time when you had credit scores and established credit and credit card and all that, that counted for nothing, right? You come from China, you come from India, you come from Portugal, Ukraine, Scotland, doesn't matter. You come here, all of that stuff's left behind. Bloom is trying to partially solve that. So you establish a credit in another country and your Bloom score, you can actually take it with you. And so instead of worrying about establishing your Equifax score or TransUnion or Experian, your Bloom score can actually follow you to a new country because you have a federated identity that you can actually use across other blockchain, cryptocurrency, platforms that are all, in this case, Ethereum based. This is an ERC20 token called the Bloom token. And there's also going to be a peer-to-peer lending aspect of the platform, and also institutional lenders as well. So no matter what, if you need credit and you're trying to establish credit, and you are the type of person who likes to globe hop or what have you, Bloom is trying to make your life a lot easier for you, and for a bunch of reasons, I feel like it's really, really cool. The ICO is happening right now, so if you want to own some Bloom tokens, you can have at it. There's a link in the show notes to check it out, get started. There's lots of instructions on the website, and the ICO goes until the end of the month. Bloom tokens are distributed January 1st, so yeah, and they've got a ton of other cryptocurrency or blockchain-based lending platforms already signed up as partners, and they're working on getting some institutional folks like actual banks on board as well. So
very cool.
I think it's going to go places.
All right. Do either of you two have anything you've discovered in the last little while and you want to talk about?
I actually came across this article today. So it was in the Entrepreneur, and pretty much, designers out. This is mainly from what I had gathered from the article that I read, mainly out in California right now, but in the textile industry and in the fashion industry, really looking into the environmental impact of the production costs and how the materials are produced and how much water and energy really goes into extracting those resources and the impacts of it globally, not just domestically. And so looking into hybrid materials that are more sustainable and economical, and they have a longer life cycle in terms of giving back to the community as well. And, there's a lot of designers that have been able to gather quite a significant amount of seed funding in order to pursue this even further, to create, a fashion line that is not only, reputable in the industry and, takes an artistic direction, but, from an environmental standpoint is sustainable in the long run, so that they're able to, pivot the strategy on the technology behind the actual materials itself. Interesting.
You'll have to you'll have to include that on the notes there under the stuff we like in our show page,
please,
so we can share that. So we can share that. Alex, do you have anything interesting you've picked up in the last little while?
Yeah, I am. Something that was really interested, piqued my interest recently, is automated cars, and how just Canada trying to keep up with the technology, and just how much huge potential there is with the technology, right? Just increasing efficiency on the roads, and then how it's going to change our day-to-day lives, and then also shift employment. So I'm really interested, and I've been reading a lot about it and how it's going to, change, Canada and how it's going to affect all of us.
Excellent. Yeah, no, we've actually covered quite a bit of, autonomous driving and smart cars and all that here on the show. So it fits in. It fits in very well. Yeah, we got, just between London and Toronto, where you guys are, Stratford seems to be becoming quite the autonomous car center now. With some of the various major players.
Exactly, especially with the University of Waterloo's contribution to their self-driving car. Yeah,
exactly. Very interesting thing. Okay, so what have your hosts been up to lately?
Well, I had another busy. Maybe we should talk about CodeShip first.
Oh goodness me! How could I forget our good friends? That was terrible. That's terrible. All right, let's talk about our good friends at CodeShip.
Good, because maybe Saiba and Alexandra don't know, but CodeShip is a SaaS-delivered continuous integration and delivery solution that lets you ship your apps with so much confidence. So much confidence as if you've got a Touch Bistro-powered iPad in your hand when you're serving some super fancy folks who could give you a massive tip at the end of the night.
Awesome.
So, going back to CodeShip, you can choose between CodeShip Basic or CodeShip Pro. The basic version is a simple testing and deployment service with pre-installed CI dependencies that works right out of the box, making the average setup time less than 3 minutes. Or you can try the Pro version. CodeShip Pro is a fully customizable CI and delivery service. It has native Docker support. It is much easier to use than Jenkins or Travis. You can easily test and deploy your microservices. You can push any registry. It's perfect if you want to deploy with Kubernetes. And it comes with a convenient local command line tool that allows you to run your builds locally, encrypt your environment variables, and it guarantees 100% parity between your development and production environments. Eureka, I've got it. Apple needs to become a huge enterprise customer of CodeShip tomorrow.
There you go.
Anyway, CodeShip Basic and Pro both come with a free plan that grants 100 builds per month, unlimited projects, and unlimited users. Open source projects are always free on CodeShip, so go to codeship.com or check out codeship.com/features to find out which CodeShip product is the best fit for you. Obviously, it should be Pro for Apple, and they should be paying thousands of dollars every month, and we should get 100 of that.
We should at least, definitely. And, of course, we'd like to thank our good friends at CodeShip for their ongoing support of the Canadian Tech Podcast. So, very busy week for me. I started my seasonal work at the liquor store. And before anyone asks, I do not get a staff discount.
Bastard.
Let me just remind you all, I'm sorry.
Lame. That is so lame. I got a discount working at Walmart, and you can't get a discount. I can't imagine,
but you know what? We do get free tastings. So
wow!
Nice.
Yes,
so
fair
there
enough.
we go. I get to try all the fancy schmancy new things, all the stuff the kids are into these days, I guess. And my good single malt scotch, but that's fine. And I'm also starting a new contract gig at the Schulich School of Medicine at Western University here in London, Ontario. So helping to do support there. So if someone's on a Mac and their update screws up, I should be able to help them.
They're
you
lucky
should
to
come
have
work
you.
for Touch Bistro.
There you go.
Yeah.
Are you saying that you have some tech challenge people there? You're not saying, are you? No,
There's always room for improvement.
There we go. Exactly. No, it's something I enjoy doing. Christmas season's starting. I've been helping some people with their backup strategy with my other side gig, S. Clark Consulting. So, getting ready for the holidays. It's going to be a very busy December. But of course, it doesn't compare. What I do doesn't compare to Derek, because like Derek, I swear, he somehow bends time with all the stuff he's got on the go. Derek, what did you do this week?
I just don't sleep.
You don't.
So full-time job, pumping out proposals at Olio, obviously. I think Chelsea and I are going to put together some Christmas stuff this week to send out to customers.
I want to see the funny. I hope we get a funny Christmas video.
Nope. It's not going to happen. Not this year. Maybe next year.
All right.
That Student Pathways Challenge I talked about last week, it's wrapped up. Thank goodness. Not that I didn't enjoy doing it, but of course, Wednesday, Thursday, right before the deadline, just a flurry of people who hadn't bothered trying to actually upload their stuff the first time.
Wait, Derek, you mean students wait until the absolute last minute?
Yeah, pretty much. I did too. I was absolutely guilty of this in college, but I figure when you're trying to win a contest, and maybe this turns into a business because it's that good. I don't remember if there's money on the line or not. There was a pitch night. So like the top 3, 4, 10, whatever, out of 24 submissions happened, which Ryerson was very happy with. Apparently the MOE thought there were going to be more. Oh, well, Ryerson was really happy, and they're actually the ones paying the bill. So I'm happy too. It went really, really well. So that was cool. I was up until midnight. Well, I was up until almost 1 on Thursday night. Ooh, because I forgot to put something in here. I had to, so that's done. Put to bed for now. I got them exports that they can download the code, and of course there's web pages for all of these running. We had a council meeting Wednesday, talked about the 2018 capital budget, super exciting stuff.
Sorry, I didn't bring my sound effects with the crickets this time. Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. If I had a wah 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 wah, I would play that, but I don't think I do. I have laughing people. But I'm not going to do that. That's okay. That happened. Also Thursday night. Well, so was it Tuesday? We were having some really weird internet issues. Then the wireless networks would just disappear, both 2.4 and 5 gigahertz. Just disappear for a minute, and then we'd come back for like 10 minutes. Yeah, it would come back for 10 minutes, and then disappear for a minute, and come back for 10 minutes. And I was like, this is getting really annoying. I have to work really hard Thursday night and, be connected to a bunch of servers, and I can't tolerate this, especially when we use the internet for everything. Netflix, work, everything. So I went out and bought myself a new wireless router. I took the Wirecutter's recommendation and got the Netgear Nighthawk R7000P, which is the latest version of the R7000, and so far so good. One thing I really like is I set up, I think it's like a load balancing type thing, so I only have one SSID for both networks, and it just picks for me, for each device, which network to use. So that's really cool. So I don't have to manage 2 different SSIDs and 2 different passcodes anymore, or passwords. So that's nice. I invested in the Bloom ICO, as I mentioned. I was all over their Slack, helping people out, helping out with with instructions on the wallet I use to submit the Ether and view the custom token and all that. I'm going to stop mining Zcash because I'm certain it's not worth it, but it's been fun to say, yeah, I mine some sort of cryptocurrency. Instead, I've switched over to this thing called Storage, which is basically a distributed cloud computing system. In this case, it's storage. And so my Linux server now, I'm sharing 500 gigabytes worth of space. People are actually using a couple of gigs. And for every gigabyte that other people use to store their stuff on the blockchain on my device, I get paid. I get money. So I figured this is a much easier, a much cheaper way to earn a little coin, literally.
What could go wrong?
Somebody could put child porn on there, but it's encrypted, so I won't know.
Okay. All right.
That's what could possibly go wrong.
That's where I was going. All right.
I'm certainly not advocating for that. I really hope it doesn't happen. But
for the 15
I won't
intelligence
know anyway.
agencies, he's kidding.
I won't know anyway because it's encrypted and everything else. Right. Last but not least, we got a Dell XPS 13 2-in-1 from Dell, and it's really cool. So I've been messing around with it. I used it all day yesterday. I used it all day yesterday at the Ladies Learning Code workshop I mentored at.
Awesome, good for you. Well, that's because your domestic boss is heavily involved with that.
Yes, and
you're being a good partner.
Well, it was. Well, I can take the boys to this thing, or I, Derek, could take the boys to this thing that Kathleen had a much more vested interest in, and make sure I got it right for her, or I could just send her. Make sure she got what she wanted, and I go do the tech thing that I'm more skilled at anyway. So really, everybody ended up where they should be, like in their most appropriate role, and it was a lot of fun. It was about jQuery, so we had a good group of ladies come out, good mentors, a gentleman who just moved to London a little while ago, and I finally got to meet for the first time, and
awesome.
Because I met him online a while ago.
There you go. Hey. Online's cool. That's how I met my wife.
Oh, there you go. So it was a busy week. I didn't realize it was that busy.
Yeah, you were busy. I saw some of your tweets and that. Again, you don't sleep. No. All right, we're gonna wrap this up because we all got to sleep. And we all got to go to work on Monday.
Yes, we
imagine that. So don't forget to review us on iTunes, Google Play, TuneIn, Spreaker, Stitcher, Player FM, iHeart.com, or wherever else you get your podcast. We have a Twitter account. We have a Facebook account. Like, share, all that good stuff. If you want to leave us a review, that would be absolutely awesome, particularly on iTunes. That seems to be the most important one. We really appreciate that. Or you can also send us an email at contact@canadianpodcast.ca and let us know comments, suggestions, what other crazy, wacky ideas Derek should get into.
Well, my next thing is saving up for a Radeon RX 550 because apparently it hits a really good sweet spot between power consumption and hashing power.
I rest my case. Okay, we also want to thank our guests tonight, Saiba, and Alexandra from Tech Bistro for joining us tonight. Ladies, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you for having us.
And just awesome. I really, like I said, I worked in restaurants years ago, so I'm quite fascinated with this. So I'll be following your journey or the company's journey there. So for the Canadian Tech Podcast for Sunday, December the 3rd, 2017, my name is Stuart Clark.
My name is Derek Root Silva.
My name is Saiba Segu.
My name is Alexandra Tukey.
Thank you, and be well.